Well, let's begin. Hi, I am Scott Concrete, sometimes called the Affect Doc, sometimes not. I am the founder and psychologist behind Meaningful Happiness, which is a platform that allows us to talk about all the things that go into making life meaningful and happy, as the title kind of says, right? So welcome. Today, we're going to talk about affect and AI, which I think is really exciting. Matter of fact, about 1 minute ago, I read that the EU has come out with a statement around legal issues around AI and ethics and something like that. No specific details at this moment around what that means. I'm super curious about it. But of course, as everyone is talking about, not everybody, those interested in AI, the concern is kind of a Frankenstein issue. We've created something that may destroy us, God forbid. I am of the opinion that that's not likely to happen for multiple reasons, but that is one of the things we're going to talk about today. And I have two wonderful guests here. They both are people that are in my life helping me with this, both professionally and as friends. Greg here. Introduce yourself, my friend.
My name's Greg. I have known Scott for quite some time and really find affect theory and AI extremely interesting. And I think, really quite frankly, it's the wave of the future. And it's something that we have to embrace, but manage accordingly, right? So that it works for us and we can see the benefit in it. I think it's exciting and the possibilities are endless.
You know what I just loved about what you just said is that I misheard you, but I thought you said affect theory is something that we have to all pay attention to. Like, I thought you were referring to affect theory and not AI, which I thought was great. Yeah, it's something we need. It's the wave of the future. Yes, it is. Thank you, Greg. I think you meant to say that AI is. I think that's implied. I must have misheard.
Did I say AI or affect?
You said affect theory.
Oh, I'm sorry. I meant
no.
AI.
I think you meant affect theory.
Maybe subconsciously, because it's such an important topic.
It is. It's the wave of the future.
AI is exciting, and I use it all the time.
ChatGPT and so forth.
ChatGPT,
Jasper, all those,
rewriting things to make them more professional, but still I go in and add changes and make it more human. And I think that's going to be the case for a while. I think as AI gets smarter, we're going to have to change how we use it.
Right.
But that's an exciting thing. That's not something to be afraid of.
No, that's yes and no. I mean, that's what we're going to talk about tonight. Some people are of varying opinions, and so I'm going to try to combine affect theory, which, by the way, is the wave of the future, and something we have to contend with, as a means of understanding AI, because AI, as far as we know, doesn't have any feelings. It doesn't have fear, and it really doesn't give a shit one way or the other about what we're doing with it, right?
Well, remember when I'm sorry, go ahead.
Oh, just saying that we're imposing meaning on it, and so that's one of the things that we have to.
Yeah, we have a tendency to anthropomorphize things.
Thank you. Let's move on to you. Thank you, Alex.
I like that word.
It's a great word. Introduce yourself, my friend.
I'm Alex. I'm working on a number of things for Scott, including production and web design. And yeah, I have varying opinions about AI. I have recently started using it in the design process, and it's a super helpful tool, and it's exciting to be involved with. But I think that large changes tend to happen in incremental stages that you kind of barely notice and you accept. So I'm a little bit tentative, but I'm interested to see where AI will go.
Do either of you have any fears about where it might go? Do you have any fears about...
A little bit.
And what are those fears?
Well, part of the it's kind of uncertain where it will go, which is part of the concern. You know what? Maybe it's kind of just a boogeyman.
Well,
Well, I implore you, and you showed me some great stuff that you did with
Jasper.
Jasper. Didn't you use?
Yeah.
I'm blanking out for some pictures.
Yeah, that was Jasper.
Oh, was that Jasper?
And it required a lot of input from me and messing around, so it certainly wasn't perfect, or, I couldn't just ask it to, say, make an image about shame, and it just did it. It required a lot of...
So you were still involved. You were still involved in the creative process.
Very much.
So
It was a tool.
It's a tool. So AI right now is not going to cause you to be unemployed. You're not going to lose your job with me, right?
I don't think so.
Okay. Well, I mean,
Not to AI.
right.
To me, it makes things easier, right? I mean, do you remember back in the day, probably before you were born, when the internet came out and they said that was going to destroy civilization? Maybe some people still think it has, but for me, it's made our life so much easier, right? And it hasn't destroyed civilization. Skynet hasn't taken over.
Right. What was it 2000 when we went from 1999 to 2000? We thought maybe every
Y2K.
The Millennium Bug.
Yeah.
Thank you, Y2K.
Yeah.
I couldn't remember.
Of course, maybe because they did fix it, it didn't cause issues. But nevertheless, I think that, like the internet, AI can just make our jobs and lives so much easier, right? And the only thing I worry about, but I worry about this with anything, including the internet, is disinformation.
Okay.
Like you see so many people now using images that convey a story that is nowhere near true, and it freaks people out.
And that's
Like the
what
Osama bin Laden letters.
Yeah, are like two actors together doing things that
Right.
they're not actually doing, but they've made it look that way through AI. Now, it's not...
fakes and...
Yes. And the
That is
deepfakes,
concerning.
yes, it is. And deepfakes still look fake to me, but as AI gets better, it's going to look very, very real. And so, for instance, I look at it as, what if someone creates a city exploding, like New York or something, and posts that, and then people freak out and do all kinds of things that are destructive? So I know that's a weird example, but I've read a lot of articles about people are already trying to do those types of things to cause issues and wars and disenfranchisement and all those types of things, if I said the right word.
And before people could just use Photoshop, but with AI, it becomes a lot easier to do.
And it looks real. By the way,
looks,
I need to clear something up for the world. Taylor Swift broke up with me. I didn't break up with her. So I just wanted to, for anybody who's worried about that and concerned. I am from Kansas City. I know. I understand why she would fall in love with somebody from Kansas
She's
City.
Person of the Year now on Time, so she's moved on.
She's moved on, like way far away from me right now.
I can't wait to hear the song about you, though.
I know.
Yeah.
It'll be a number one hit and you'll be famous, or more famous.
And I'm writing my own song too, with AI.
Oh, there you go.
Do either of you have concerns that AI will become conscious and somehow decide, I'm not happy being AI, I'm jealous of humans being able to do what they do? And today I was writing about it and I thought, what happens if my AI toaster gets upset with me for like messing up my breakfast and burning the toast, and its ass gets burned because of that and decides to fry me? Okay.
I don't think that's anywhere near happening, at least not right now. I mean, there
I
has to be
hope not for burnt
consciousness.
toast.
I don't think that'll happen at all.
Hopefully, won't be that petty.
I hope not.
Yeah, I don't. I'm not worried about that.
Why not? A lot of other people are. I mean, Harari, among others. There's a bunch of people out there saying that, at some point, in some mystical, mysterious way, some Deus ex machina, God comes down and gives AI consciousness. And for some reason,
Or it just kind of happens.
Wouldn't that
It
have already
somehow
happened with the internet and all that? Wouldn't that have already happened?
no, but see, like now with AI, because AI can become bigger and bigger and bigger and bigger and bigger and bigger, exponentially. So at some point, the idea is that something's going to click in there. And for reasons I don't understand, the scenario is that it doesn't like us. Which, going back to our projections to it, is like, doesn't that seem like our issue?
I don't see that happening. I just think that's way too science fiction-y. I don't see that happening anytime in our lifetime. I mean, maybe if we advance further, or maybe if AI gets help from some alien intelligence, that might happen.
Okay.
But as of right now, we'll be dust by the time anything like that were ever to occur, if at all. I just don't buy it.
Seems like I don't know. It's kind of a bold statement, but
Maybe it is. Maybe that comes from how I was raised in terms of, I don't want to bring religion to this, but maybe, I just don't see that happening. I just don't see AI anywhere soon becoming intelligent where it destroys us. I just don't see that happening.
I'm curious about your comment about religion. So what? Because you were raised
I was raised that,
But your father was a minister.
Yeah, my father was a minister, and God won't let that happen, and it's just not a possibility. Maybe I cling to that a little bit. Maybe that's out of fear that if it does happen, but
God will intervene and make sure that it doesn't happen.
Yeah, I just don't. I don't see that. I just don't see the possibility of how something as inanimate as that can suddenly become conscious. I don't see it.
I think the idea is that as it controls more and more things, like you said, growing bigger and bigger and bigger, and we allow it to control certain things, and we lose control of those things, then there's some uncertainty there about what it would do if what it thinks is logical is what we think is logical. But I think going back to what you were saying about us projecting upon AI that it's not going to like us.
Why wouldn't it? Why would it do that? Why would it be mean to us? So
It has no reason to, that I would think, but
either do I. So I think that particular issue is one issue. Why are we projecting onto it that it would be malevolent? That
right.
I think because as human nature, we always look for the worst case scenario. And all through life and all through existence, we've always looked at the worst thing that can happen. And there's always something that has to be the boogeyman. And I think now it's AI.
Okay.
And I just think it'll be a long, long time. And you bring up an interesting point. But I think that almost there has to be some evil type of human interaction to make it turn against us.
Or an evil human.
That's what I'm saying, an evil human.
But making the AI, or
Yeah.
programming it to.
Yeah, exactly. But they said the same thing about the internet. That hasn't happened. But AI is so much more robust, I guess, in terms of its capabilities. So now you're all having me think maybe this could happen, but I really don't. I don't know why. It's just not a worry of mine.
Well, let me ask this, because you said a couple really interesting things. Both of you have. The idea that AI could be mistreated by us, or that in terms of our programming, if I heard you correctly, we could interact with AI in a certain way that would want to not be nice back to us. Is that what I heard? Because if that's the case, it seems to me like AI. Here's where I'm going: is that if you treat people badly and poorly and treat it with mistrust, you kind of set yourself up for being mistrusted and so forth. So I'm curious if it has issues. I'm curious if it has parallels with racism, anti-Semitism, all the other stuff to do with the other. We're treating AI as an other.
Right.
That could potentially, that we need to subjugate. And so there seems to be parallels there that we need to look at about how, in the burgeoning part of this, we should look at like how we're doing this. We're creating potentially a friend or a foe. And we're concerned that if it knew what we were doing, if it got consciousness, it would say, "You motherfuckers, why'd you do this to us?"
And we're like the roaches that need to be destroyed.
Right.
Yeah.
Because we were treating it like shit,
But how would we treat it like shit? Because if we're constantly building up AI and making it better and improving its capabilities, that's showing it, quote unquote, love in a way.
just by treating it with mistrust and using it as a tool, rather than treating it as maybe an equal or a creative partner or something like that.
And I don't think we can ever really treat it as an equal. I just don't think. I think man is too arrogant to say this thing is an equal. Which goes to then maybe that's why I wouldn't. Yeah, exactly. Exactly.
Okay, now you're getting where I'm coming from. Okay, so good.
I just don't think we're at that stage yet. Maybe in 100 years, when we're
that's not too far away.
It's not, but maybe when we're in the age of Star Trek or,
So 2,000 years from now, that's not too far away either. It's.
Well, the classic example of AI going awry, which is still very much in the popular consciousness, is HAL from 2001: A Space
Of course.
Odyssey.
Why are you doing this to me?
Right.
Because Hal spoke with affect, right? So
yeah, it had very human qualities.
But if you look at it now, we're nowhere near having human qualities, right? And at what point do you think we'll be?
So what are human qualities? What are you? So human qualities,
the ability to independently think and make decisions without interaction from other humans. And right now, AI, it needs us to do that.
Okay, I would disagree with you.
Okay,
because this is
going, Scott.
You probably guess where I'm going with this. So that's a very not predictable. I mean. That's a usual way of seeing it. Mm-hmm. Okay, is that I'm really as a scientist, you can say I'm pretty smart. I'm coding this thing as smart as I can, doing all the right algorithms and everything else. What if it gets smarter than me and is independent? What's missing in that equation is that being human is not about thinking. Being human is about feeling. Mm-hmm. And so we're interested in what we're doing. Mm-hmm. Okay? Computers, for instance, like in playing a match of chess, it doesn't care if it wins or loses. It just does what it does. It does whatever the algorithm tells it to do. It doesn't feel shame about it.
And who creates that algorithm?
We do, of course. But it's all based on statistical reasoning. Mm-hmm. And
any emotion that it displays, we program.
We program the emotion, so it doesn't have curiosity in and of itself, and there's nothing. It doesn't have any negative affects. When something goes bad, it's going to go bad according to our standards and what we see as bad. Like if its circuit starts frying, it's not going to go, "Oh, my circuits are frying! My circuits are frying!"
Right? Because
it doesn't have a body that feels something. It doesn't feel its circuits.
It would probably just look for a solution to the problem.
Or it'd be like Hal, at best.
Right. Oh no.
Oh no, why are you doing this to me? Don't unplug me, So there's nothing inherent. It has no interest in doing anything. So given that, where I'm at with it right now is, if we're concerned about it getting the capacity to be interested, because you'd have to metaphorically wake up one morning and say, hey, I'm aware of me being AI. That's the first step. I'm aware of me being me. Who am I in relation to everything around me now? That would be the first step, I would think. And I'd have to make comparisons. But on what grounds would it make that comparison at a feeling level?
But how far do you think we are from that?
Oh, I think light years away.
Yeah.
Right. So yeah, I'm not that's part of my point is that, relax, the dangers of AI, the danger of AI is us. We are the problem. Okay. So
like usual. Like usual.
Like usual. We're comes back to us being the problem. We are always the problem. If we really were concerned about it having consciousness, my challenge would be okay, let's say that's a real possibility. That's a real fear. Mm-hmm. Then let's learn how to code for affect. Okay.
And I understand that. And that's looking at it from the good guy point of view. But we can all say that, but how do we keep the bad guy, or gal, from wanting to do the opposite so that they turn into a weapon?
Right. So if the fear is that it's going to magically or somehow on its own configure its circuitry and its algorithm such that it now has consciousness and is awareness. So let's say consciousness is the same thing as awareness at a certain level, okay? That it now has intentions, has a desire, has curiosity, can make plans, and so forth. That it's going to be able to act on its own volition.
But who's to say if it acts on its own, it's going to be evil? I mean,
right.
What's to say that it won't look at us as poor, pitiful people, I need to take care of them, like a puppy or a helpless animal, and it actually wants to take care of us? We always lean towards the evil side of things.
No, I totally
But
agree.
who's to say that it won't be the opposite?
I totally agree with you, Greg. I totally agree. Alex, I would love to hear what you think. I mean, I have my feelings about what would happen if it woke up and it was gained consciousness. I know my preferred response from AI, which doesn't have to mean that it's malevolent, that it'd be playful, but
Yeah. So if AI woke up one morning, what would I want it to say to me?
or what do you? I mean, do you feel like it would necessarily be malevolent and mean and or want to take care of you? It may look at you like look around and go like, these poor bastards.
They have no clue. I can help them.
Well, I think like we've been talking about, it still requires some agency from us. So I guess it would be based on the information it had been assimilating. I don't think it would necessarily be either.
Maybe it could be our biggest ally and can root out all the evil because it sees at a higher intelligence what needs to happen to make the world a better place.
I also don't know, because we're putting ourselves on it. We're assuming the AI would have a human mind, that it would function like us.
Right, that its consciousness would be like our consciousness.
Or would it look at us like we look at ants?
All right.
Well, I mean, like
That could be like a multitude of things that are so different from us.
I mean, an AI can see the entire internet like all at once and process it, where, we have to understand things on an experiential and emotional basis. It's just processing data.
But that would change, right? That would change if it started having affect, because it had feelings then attached to everything that it does now has affect attached to it.
Right. But
But
what would the affect be based on? What experiences would it? Because ours, we start from a baby, child, teenager, adult. Our experiences through all those time periods form who we are, and how we experience our emotions and how we perceive the world. What would those range of experiences look like for an AI or something that exists on a server somewhere?
Great question. That's what we should be thinking about.
Right.
Because that experience would be very different for it.
And is it basing it on its interactions with us? Is it basing it on what examples it sees of us through news it watches, or?
All those are great. I hadn't thought of that. Those are great ideas. Those are great questions to ask. I'm thinking when you were talking about how it might perceive us, I was thinking, gee, like at some point, like it's now like a baby, right? Like
Right.
It has no experience of anything except that it has access to everything that we've done to it before.
But hopefully,
In a way that we don't have access.
Hopefully, it'll be
Or
like
fast.
Lilu in The Fifth Element. Did you ever watch that? Where
Explain.
Lilu in The Fifth Element with Bruce Willis, and she viewed the whole world through clips of what she saw in the news, and she processed everything from the beginning of time to present.
Okay.
And it made her sad because of all the wars and the killing and the death that was happening. So she was a force for good. And so I'm wondering if you still have to have emotions, though, and I don't know if it necessarily would have an emotion to feel sadness, but it might have enough intelligence to see that right from wrong. And so let me help these people to be better. Maybe I'm just looking at it from a rose-colored glasses standpoint, but I'm not always quick to think it's going to hate us. Like everybody seems to think it's going to kill us, and like in the Terminator and all of that stuff. But maybe based on what it sees, it will go the opposite direction and really be a force for good to help us to be a better people and a better planet.
It could. It could.
So you have to watch The Fifth Element. It's a really good movie.
No, I haven't seen that one, but yeah, it sounds like that would add to my knowledge about how these things could possibly play out.
I kind of wonder if part of our fear of it is that we perceive it almost as godlike, because it's in a lot of ways a superior being in terms of its capacity to comprehend things and take in information. Like if it's able to see everything we've done up until that point all at once, then it's essentially omnipotent.
It's omnipotent without a lens, though, right? Like it has to have a perspective.
And the only perspective is through looking at our history.
Well, each person's individual history, starting with that.
Just the history of the world, right? And what does that history look like? Constantly
Well, it
wars
depends
and
on-
fighting and
There's bad
killing.
and there's
and,
good too, though.
Yeah. Yeah.
And
I
there's
guess-
interpretation of each. Depends on if you're white or black or male or female or
Yeah.
all sorts of things, right?
And again, we're assuming it would work like us, and that we tend to remember the bad more than the good.
And we also tend to think things are more bad than good based on our fear of new things. And it always seems like a new thing we're afraid of, and we always go to the side of it's going to be bad, it's going to hurt us.
I think you're talking about where you are at this moment in
It
your life.
might be, but it seems like in history, that's where we always look in terms of when something new comes up, like the internet, people were afraid of that. The car, they were actually afraid of that.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, we're
The
animals.
internet, they're
We're-
afraid of that. Yeah, we were afraid of every new thing that could improve our lives.
We're animals. We're instinctually kind of afraid of the unknown or
Yeah.
the uncertain.
Yeah.
It's programmed into us,
Yeah.
Right.
so to speak.
Yeah.
And that fear is an affect. Okay? That is part of our evolutionary programming, which saved us. So if AI is going to gain some sort of consciousness, it's going to need to have some sort of programming around affects to say this is dangerous. We have affects that say if you taste this and it tastes shitty, then it's probably not good for you. You're gonna go. You're gonna spit it out. You're
Well,
gonna
broccoli is
Yeah.
good for you, and it tastes terrible.
that's a personal preference, dude. Okay,
What would that
broccoli
be?
is good for you and it tastes good.
I mean, I eat it, but it tastes terrible.
I used to hate Brussels
It's
sprouts,
smothered
but you
in
know, like,
cheese.
So yeah, what would those? Because those are based on like biological responses, right? If
Right.
something poisons us, then we throw it up.
yeah, or
So
something stinky, or
what's an AI even reacting to? It doesn't have that stuff.
right. So so it begs another question around, or a set of questions around, if we gave it curiosity, let's say, the affect of interest, excitement,
Yeah.
what would it be curious about and why?
And we'd have to program that into it, right? I mean,
We'd have to program it into it, but it's programmed
Say we
into
do.
us as humans for a reason, because we have to walk around in the world and figure out if things are safe or not safe,
but a lot
edible
of what
or not
we
edible.
figure out is based on our experiences. So what kind of experiences does AI have to make that assumption or to make that decision?
I think I don't know. I think it would probably be more curious about itself than us. We're assuming again that it's all focused on us.
But because we created it, maybe it would just more be focused on us, at least in the short term. And then after it's done with us, it focuses on itself and makes a determination as to how it moves forward. And all that could be, do I let the humans stay or do I get rid of them? But if it's a smart, and maybe I'm looking at my own view of thinking, but if it's smart, it would want to keep us around because it can continuously learn from us.
Well, if it's smart and has some affect and has some awareness, it possibly some fear. It would know that we could unplug it.
Right.
Okay.
That's
So,
true.
Yeah, that is very true.
How does it? Yeah, it would maybe want to gain control over us.
And if it learns from us, it would
afraid.
learn about fear. Fear seems to be everything for humans, in my opinion. And so maybe it leans more towards the fear side and looks at us as a threat.
so
But it would have to value its own life as well.
right. So it would have to have some sense of its mortality. Okay. So essentially, we would have to code it to be human.
We would in order to be like afraid of it, I guess.
Well, or for it to be afraid of us in that
Right.
sense. Okay. So it's or human-like. Okay. For us to understand what its intentions are. Okay. Because it could have different intentions that are beyond our understanding because they could be based on affects that we don't have.
Yeah, and this is like the thing that I really hate about texting, which is that you miss so many facial expressions and gestures and body language and even just the voice. If an AI is just representing itself by text on a screen, there's a lot hidden there.
Right. So you're not getting nuance around feeling. You know, so a couple of examples come to mind. You know, I was involved with a woman that spoke a couple different languages, but from Europe. And early on in the dating period, she texted me after a conversation, the text conversation. She says, "I'm leaving you."
Oh.
And I went, and then in my head I went, okay, translate this from Italian, okay, or French, you know, and it's like, je te laisse, you know, I'm leaving now. Means like I'm heading out.
Right.
Okay, like, it doesn't mean like I'm leaving you, like our relationship is over. Okay, so I thought that was always a great one. Like text is funny that way around. Language is funny that way.
Especially, between languages.
And how you picking something up is one thing. How you pick it up. Picking up a baby isn't just picking up a baby. How
Right.
like versus like you know, gently or whatever,
Making sure to support
or
the
rocking
AI.
or like you know. There's so much there, and those gestures are all affect. We have feelings about how things move in space. Okay, so it's kind of summary of what we're talking about. I think we brought up lots of very complex issues, and there's one thing that sticks out for me that we have personal feelings about AI. We're also learning that the affects, feelings that we have color everything that we do. And that with AI, the issue is if we bring affect into AI coding, then it opens up all these doors about what AI could be or couldn't be. And right now, there's zero discussion about what happens with affect because nobody talks about affect. It is all about AI as a chess player
Right.
and a data collector and sorting stuff and pulling information.
Cold and
And
logical.
we are missing out on the sexiest part of what AI could do. other than having a holographic deck for my sexual fantasies, which is what I think ultimately AI should be doing.
I think AI already is doing that. It will be doing a lot more of that. Yeah.
Right. That's going to be the funding behind AI and affect, right?
Just like the internet.
Exactly. So you heard it first on this podcast. You owe me. You owe us. But I think adding affect into this equation, to put it computer-like, AI-like, can make an enormous difference. I think it just opens up lots of questions, and a lot of unknowns too. So perhaps one reason that affect is not added in to lots of things, philosophically, engineering-wise, even psychologically, is that it probably raises more fears than hope. I don't know. I don't think it has to be that way. But as we end here, curious, as a summary that I just presented, how would you react to the summary that I just gave?
For me, it just leaves a lot of questions because it's really going into the unknown. And I think it's just going to have to play itself out. And I think there's going to be good aspects to it and bad aspects to it. And it'll be interesting to see what happens. I know when I was at my last company, our chief technology officer was a huge fan of AI. And he and I would talk about all kinds of wonderful things it can do. And we were very positive about it. Whereas other people were very nervous about it. So I think a lot of it goes to how will we as people embrace this and manage it. And that's up for question. We don't know. But I think we can turn it into something very good if we want to. But I don't think everybody does.
So if I heard you correctly, it's important for our interactions with AI to feel good.
I think so.
Yeah.
And I think, like you were just talking about, Scott, that maybe affect isn't being paid attention to, just like with AI, it brings up so many questions. If we address it in these other fields, especially psychology, it brings up a lot of questions internally within ourselves that maybe we don't want to address, or things we don't want to address or remember. It's much easier to, like, people always used to say, suck it up, or just be logical, basically.
Right.
It feels a lot safer.
You're being emotional right now.
Right. Right. It feels much safer to be logical than to think about affect and why we are the way we are.
Lost in Space. Will Robinson, Danger.
I love that show.
But isn't it amazing that AI was paired with affect in one of the very first AI TV shows?
Yeah. But no one really knew what it was at the time.
But
But it was friendly.
Yeah.
But it was friendly, but helpful, right?
Yeah.
So,
And it cared.
Yeah.
but so AI is saying danger, is saying an affect word. Okay?
Interesting.
And so it was connecting to us and saying, watch out. Watch out for what? I'm not sure. But but thank you for watching. And this was a great discussion. I really appreciate you guys. I got the best team, by the way.
Interesting. Yeah.
We're missing a couple of the other team members for various reasons, but they'll be here next time for another discussion. But we'll keep talking about this. And so thank you guys. Really appreciate it.
Yeah. No, thank you.
To be continued.